Earlier this morning, Saturday the 3rd January 2026, the United States commenced military operations within the territory of Venezuela. U.S. President Donald Trump claimed that Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro was captured during Saturday's military action on the South American country. That claim has not been independently confirmed. Colombian President Gustavo Petro has said his country is seeking a meeting of the United Nations Security Council. Writing on X, Petro said Colombian forces were being deployed to the border, and all available support forces would be deployed in the event of a massive influx of refugees. He wrote, "The Colombian embassy in Venezuela is active and responding to calls for assistance from Colombians in Venezuela. As members of the United Nations Security Council, we seek to convene the council." Petro said that the principle of the self-determination of peoples should be respected and invited the Venezuelan people to find the paths of civil dialogue and their unity. He added, "Without sovereignty, there is no nation." Petro later said the government of Colombia rejects the aggression against the sovereignty of Venezuela and of Latin America, adding that internal conflicts between peoples are resolved by those same peoples in peace. Russia has condemned the U.S. military action in Venezuela, saying there was no tenable justification for the attack and that ideological hostility had prevailed over diplomacy, according to Agence France-Presse. Venezuela is Russia's most important ally in South America, though the Kremlin has stopped short of offering assistance to Caracas in the event of a conflict with the United States. The Russian Foreign Ministry said in a statement, "This morning, the United States committed an act of armed aggression against Venezuela. This is deeply concerning and condemnable. The pretexts used to justify such actions are untenable. Ideological hostility has triumphed over businesslike pragmatism." The statement did not mention Nicolas Maduro. Russia said there were no reports of Russian citizens injured in U.S. strikes and reaffirmed its solidarity with the Venezuelan people. Christopher Sabatini, senior fellow for Latin America at Chatham House, said the escalation was not unexpected. He said that while the narrative around the U.S. rationale has shifted over time, from anti-narcotics operations to regime change, the step was almost inevitable after 6 months of escalation failed to generate internal dissent capable of removing Maduro. According to Sabatini, U.S. strikes appear to have focused on military infrastructure, including Tiuna Fort, an unoccupied military barracks, and several airfields and bases. He questioned whether such strikes alone could provoke regime change, or whether continued military action would be required. He added that while U.S. Special Operations Forces could support targeted strikes, a full military invasion appeared unlikely. Sabatini also noted that U.S. public opinion is largely opposed to military intervention in Venezuela, and that continued strikes could force a vote in Congress under the War Powers Act. Even in the event of regime change, he said it is not clear whether it would be democratic and warned that any outcome would likely require sustained U.S. engagement. Venezuela's state-run energy company PDVSA reported that oil production and refining were operating normally on Saturday. Two sources with knowledge of the company's operations told Reuters that PDVSA's most important facilities had suffered no damage from U.S. attacks aimed at extracting President Nicolas Maduro. The port of La Guaira near Caracas, one of the country's largest ports but not used for oil operations, was reported to have sustained severe damage. Trinidad and Tobago has issued a statement distancing itself from the ongoing military operations in Venezuela. The country's Foreign Affairs Ministry said, "Trinidad is not a participant in any of these ongoing military operations." Trinidad and Tobago continues to maintain peaceful relations with the people of Venezuela. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar confirmed the position in a social media post, writing, "Earlier this morning, Saturday 3rd of January 2026, the United States commenced military operations within the territory of Venezuela. Trinidad and Tobago is not a participant in any of these ongoing military operations." Last month, Trinidad and Tobago approved the installation of a U.S. military radar facility, a move that raised concerns the Caribbean could be drawn into the crisis. The government has said the radar is part of a counter-drug trafficking strategy. Persad-Bissessar has previously expressed strong support for U.S. military activity in the Caribbean. The Caribbean Community, known as CARICOM, said its conference of heads of government met early on 3rd of January following reports of military action in Venezuela. CARICOM said it is actively monitoring the situation, describing it as one of grave concern with possible implications for neighboring countries, and said it would continue to update the region as more information becomes available. Colombian President Gustavo Petro reiterated that the government of Colombia rejects aggression against the sovereignty of Venezuela and Latin America, and emphasized that conflicts between peoples must be resolved peacefully by those same peoples.